Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine avatara varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. So we'll continue from where we left. The Great Master, the last class I believe was held nearly a month ago. So we are discussing the divine play of Sri Ramakrishna, which was earlier known as Sri Ramakrishna, the Great Master. The same book, but it has been retranslated by Swami Chetananandji. It, it's the translation of the original Sri Sri Ramakrishna Leela Prasanga, which is a very authentic biography of Sri Ramakrishna in Bengali in 5 volumes. Later on, it was combined into a single volume. And that has been translated into English twice. The first translation, which is the older one, is the earlier one, that is the Sri Ramakrishna, the Great Master, was done by Swami Jagadananda, who was a direct disciple of Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi. And that was the translation which we normally use, which we normally used. But recently, the same book has been translated literally by the same title, The Divine Play of Sri Ramakrishna. That is the translation of the original Sri Sri Ramakrishna Leela Prasanga. Leela means the divine play. So it is a very authentic biography, and as we have mentioned several times, because we alternately conduct this gospel class, Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, which deals with the conversations that were recorded during his lifetime by Mahendranath Gupta. And most of those conversations, they cover the period from 1882, almost all the conversations. A few conversations were added as an appendix later on, but most of the conversations took place between February 1882 and before the passing away of the master. So, to understand that, in that brief period of Sri Ramakrishna's life, when the gospel was recorded, he did mention many things of his sadhaka life. That is, the life he led as a sadhaka or as a spiritual aspirant, which was not known to most of the people who came to listen to those conversations in Dakshineshwar. Most of them, except Hriday, who was a witness to all the sadhanas that Sri Ramakrishna did during his days in Dakshineshwar. We all know Sri Ramakrishna lived for a little more than 49 years, and half of his life, you can say, almost half of his life was spent, including the childhood, was spent in intense sadhana. So those 2 volumes, the first 2 volumes, Sri Ramakrishna's childhood days, that is the first volume, and then we have the second volume which deals with the sadhana period, sadhaka bhava. That is the second part. That is how Swami Shardananji has divided his biography. The first 2 parts deal with Sri Ramakrishna's life as a sadhaka, which almost was half his total life. So first half he acquired spirituality, or you may say he performed a lot of spiritual disciplines. All the different disciplines and pathways of Hinduism he explored, which is very rare in the history of spiritual sadhana. We find it difficult even to reach our goal by performing sadhana through one particular path of Hinduism or any other religion. Whereas Sri Ramakrishna, after having got the initial realization, uh, was very hungry for, as Holy Mother Sharda Devi once said, he was a spiritual glutton. Just as a glutton wants to taste different kinds of food, even if he is not hungry, he wants to eat. So also Sri Ramakrishna's desire for experiencing God in different path through different pathways. He just wanted to taste the divine experience of realization through different paths. And his intensity was such, the intensity of his sadhana was such that what would normally take a sadhaka several years to reach the culmination of sadhana, you will find Sri Ramakrishna doing it in a few days. That shows that, as Swami Vivekananda once mentioned, depending on the intensity, the time required to reach the culmination in one's spiritual life, the sadhanas which one performs in spiritual life, it depends on the intensity. So he was so intense, and whatever thought came to him, you will find right from childhood these characteristics we have discussed in great detail, his childhood days. And now we have come to the second part of the Leela Prasanga, which is known as Sadhaka Bhava, Sri Krishna as a Sadhaka. It is so important, this portion, as we read in the first part. Shardanji says, all the great prophets, saints of the world, very little is known of their struggles. And one of the reason he attributes is people don't want to show that the saint whom they revere, whom they adore, sometimes whom they consider as a very incarnation of God, they don't want to attribute any kind of struggle to him. They think because by divine right he was an incarnation or he was a born great, he did not have to go through the rigors of sadhana, which is not the case. He said, Swami Shardanji, in fact, mentions this fact that we do not know of the early life of Jesus or even Buddha, though many times he used to refer, Buddha lived a very long life. So he has explained, but these struggles were not highlighted by his disciples. He underwent fasting, he tried so many types of austerity in his own life before he chalked out his own path. But people focus more on his exploits, on his message, rather than his struggles, because they don't want to show their ideal or their idol or their Ishta struggling like other human beings. But Swami Shardanji is of the opinion that if the incarnation or any saint or any prophet, if he does not exhibit through his own life how much struggle is involved in ascending the spiritual path, then people will not get inspiration. They will get inspiration only if you consider him as a human being like us, who underwent all the struggles and reached the goal which we are supposed to reach in our sadhana. So, where will we get the inspiration from? But there is a difference, as Swami Shardanji will mention now, that they do it at a quicker pace because they have a message to convey. Like all of us who are very, lukewarm in our spiritual practices, we think that we have enough time. Let us wait. Maybe this age is, we are too young. In fact, many of the parents will find saying that it's too, now you should focus on your career and other things. And one is, unless one reaches a ripe age where he can think of spiritual practices, it's not the right time. There are many important things to be accomplished when one is young. Whereas Sri Ramakrishna's life, you will find that from day one, the day he was forced to go to school, from that day itself, you will find that his goal was very clear. He was very sure of what he wanted to achieve in life, and his faith was unwavering. No, nothing could shake him. His resolve would not be shaken by any distraction, because many people tried to distract him. His own relatives, his own mother, in fact, thinking that he has gone mad, tried to distract him, saying that you are doing a lot of spiritual practices, so you better divert your mind. And everybody tried to divert his mind, including Mathur Babu. We saw that how he struggled during his younger days, how he was misunderstood. Even during youth, people thought that he is not a normal, I mean, there's something wrong and he has some mental issues. In fact, Sri Ramakrishna's mother was so worried about her son, because she found all her other sons who were older than Sri Ramakrishna appeared to be normal, earning some whatever little they could, having a job in Calcutta, running a school. Everything was fine. Whereas she was very much worried about her youngest son, whom a girl she used to lovingly call Gadai, that he has not gone to school. How will he earn a living? How will he marry? Who will marry him? Already people are saying that he's crazy. So naturally, as a normal mother would do, she was terribly worried. And Sri Ramakrishna knew his deep devotion for his mother. In fact, we see that a wonderful incident where he is praying to the Divine Mother. He, of course, he came away from Kamarpukur and started living with his elder brother, who thought if he comes here and helps me, maybe he can get a job as a priest or as an assistant priest, or learn something of the rituals which would enable him to earn some income. And that is the goal of all Brahmin priests in those days. That was the goal. It was a sort of occupation or a profession where they could earn a living at least. So they had to master all the rituals and other things. So he thought, let me bring this Gadadhar. We saw that, how he literally forced him to come, though he did not want to go to uh, Dakshineshwar, and he was very happy in Kamarpukur. And the mother was also happy because he was the youngest son. And somehow she felt that since the son is with me, though others, he is unlike other people, he is not very good at studies. In fact, he refused to go to school. But none of them realized that what he wanted to achieve in life, he was one pointed, and he was not lukewarm in his approach to what he thought is the goal of life. So his sadhana was totally different. That's the only difference between the human aspect of the master and the divine aspect that we discussed in great detail. These things are very important because you don't find a biography of this standard in the history of the world. This is not an ordinary biography. Max Muller, in fact, who wrote the first English biography, in fact, all the material, now everybody appreciates Max Muller's biography, which he wrote even before Great Master was published, or the Bengali version of Leela Prasang was published. That required a lot of research. But before that, Swami Shardananji collected some wonderful materials, and that was published without even editing by Max Muller in Oxford, because he was so much impressed that he wanted a authentic biography that the English world should know about this great saint of Dakshineshwar, or this prophet of Dakshineshwar, as he called him. So Sri Ramakrishna's life and sayings was actually compiled by Swami Shardananji. Imagine a scholar of the caliber of Max Muller, who headed the uh, Department of Oriental Philosophy in Oxford University. He, even without changing anything, the first edition is still available. He just published the material that was arranged to be sent by Swami Vivekananda himself, who visited his house. He told Shardananji, because he knew Shardananji was a very meticulous person, he would give a very authentic account of whatever little he knew, because in those days In 1900, they were struggling to even survive. Swami Vivekananda was wandering all over the year. They didn't have time to write a biography of the master. They were also struggling. No money, no, monastery was in very bad shape. They were struggling even to live, to get some food, somehow beg for food. The financial condition was so bad that it was impossible for any one of the direct disciples to even think of writing a biography. Though everybody was writing, and the people who could afford to write, they were writing very unauthentic biographies, like some of the rich devotees, householder devotees. They had already published in their enthusiasm without knowing the real uh, significance of Sri Ramakrishna's life and teachings. They started writing what they thought, some miracles here and there, how devoted, how loving he was with them. So it was more of their own biography or the biography of the devotees rather than the biography of Sri Ramakrishna. So there were so many miracles and other things. And that actually caused a lot of concern. And the direct disciples thought this is not the Ramakrishna that has to be presented before the world. So Swami Vivekananda, though he did not have time, he did not even have time for his own health. He was struggling with his own health and moving around. He was in a hurry. He lived, in fact, less than Sri Ramakrishna did, just 39 years. So he was not in a position to sit down and write a biography, but he knew that if somebody can write, it would be Swami Shardananda because of his uh, capacity to understand. So it was Swami Shardananda who first explained it. Is, I think, one of the first biographies of any. In fact, there's another word in English language. We don't call it a biography. It is known as hagiography. When you write about the spiritual experiences and or the biography of holy people, it is given a different. Uh, it is referred to as a hagiography. It is not a biography, it's just events. We have biographies, we can have, even the greatest amongst human beings can have biographies because it's just a historical narration of what they did, what they achieved, that's all. But when you deal with the spiritual person, his day to day life, his teachings, it has been in the biblical language. All the Christian saints, most of them, they used to call it a hagiography to distinguish it from other biographies. They don't live a life which was just human. It is a combination of human and divine. So that is why this Leela Prasanga is one of the best other than the gospel. Gospel, of course, covers only 4 years of Sri Ramakrishna's life, and most of them are conversations, though M tries to give some kind of background of the people who are coming, their natures, why did he give a particular advice, why he treated Hajra in one way, Naren in another way. All these things you will find even in the gospel. There are so many wonderful remarks M is making, but it's disconnected and it does not cover the entire life because it covers only 82 to 86 when Sri Ramakrishna passed away. So, all the incidents which happened during Sri Ramakrishna's sadhana period, which is known as sadhaka bhava. So, which again I say is unique because none of the disciples of great prophets want to show their guru or their ishta as a sadhaka. They think he is divine by birth. No doubt they are divine by birth. But they struggle. They have to, they, according to Swashardananji, they do have a human side where they struggle like other spiritual aspirants. The only difference is they do things very fast because of their intensity. They do not only faster, they achieve their goal very quickly. In Sri Ramakrishna's case, it was impossible. What took Totapuri, his Advaita guru, 40 years to reach the state of Samadhi, in 3 days he reached that state. And it was surprising even for Totapuri, what kind of hard discipline he had to practice, hard discipline he had to undergo to get the Advaitic realization, where day and night he had to uh, disown the body. Like the training that is given, if you see the monastery of Totapuri, right from childhood they had joined the monastery and they were trained in such a way not to stay under a roof, stay in the open, and so that you don't have that kind of body consciousness. Because that is the fundamental of Advaita Vedanta. If you have body consciousness, it is not possible to uh, get even an intuitive understanding of Advaita Vedanta, because the body is denied right at the beginning of sadhana. One has to constantly deny the body as a product of Maya, which they deny the world. And that requires tremendous sadhana. So Totapuri himself says it took 40 years. And if you see, there is a beautiful book on Totapuri, who was born somewhere near Kurukshetra. Their monastery is there. How the young boys, they joined the monastery, they have not seen anything of the world. And the kind of training they have to undergo. For the first time, he stayed for more than 3 days at a place when he came to Dakshineshwar. That is also because of the wonderful inspiration he found in Sri Ramakrishna. Though he came as a guru, and he was surprised because he thought, it took me 40 years, maybe I can train this wonderful disciple who has the signs of a sadhaka. Let me give this knowledge and see how quickly he reaches that state. And he was shocked when he saw in 3 days he reached that state. So Swami Vivekananda does say that if the intensity increases in proportion to the increase of intensity of sadhana, one can attain the spiritual goals quickly, and that is what is unparalleled in the history of the world. So we see Sri Ramakrishna doing different sadhanas. Now since we are in the sadhaka bhava, very quickly, but in great detail, Swami Shardananji, from whatever Sri Ramakrishna himself said and what Hriday saw, because he was the only one who saw the sadhak bhava. The sadhana of Sri Ramakrishna was not seen by everyone. Holy Mother, of course, was there. So he might have consulted Holy Mother also. But Holy Mother was not there. She came much later from Jairam Bhatti to Dakshineshwar. By that time, all his sadhana was almost over. You see, he was alone. He was not the only person who was practically constantly with him was Hriday. So I think a lot of things that we read here are from what he heard from Hriday. Of course, he must have verified it, because Sri Ramakrishna also used to mention about his sadhana, trying to convince people or trying to explain, to inspire people. He used to say how much I did, what he did, how he did. That shows that the human aspect, the sadhana aspect, is so important. In other incarnations, it was avoided, or the disciples did not want to highlight that. They wanted to project that our prophet is so great. He doesn't need sadhana. He was born divine. Krishna, Rama, and all those. Right from childhood, they are divine. No doubt they were divine, but they also did show, as we saw in the previous discussions, Rama also had a human side. He also cried when Sita was taken away, and then he had to struggle so many things. He also cried when Dasharatha died. So many things happened. So there is a human side, but the disciples think that if we show the human side, it will show that avatara in a poor light. It's the only divine side. But Swami Shardanji says that is not correct, because both the human aspect and divine aspect, human aspect for inspiration for human beings who will follow that same path, and the divine aspect to show that he is a spiritual personality who through his grace can make our sadhana easy, make spiritual life easy. So there are both aspects. So the intensity with which he performed sadhana was responsible for his quick spiritual progress, is what Swami Shardananji is trying to prove here. So this particular chapter, in this chapter, there is a wonderful description of what he heard from Hriday, Master's vision during worship. Because we all know he used to do worship. He started his uh, Dakshineshwar days. In the beginning, he did not want to do. The only reason being is he felt that the worship or the puja has become so elaborate and so many jewelry and other things. He was terribly afraid. He first condition he gave when he was asked to assist, not even do puja. He said, if somebody takes care of the jewelry, we think the more we decorate Lord and the more beautiful we decorate, we are doing great rituals. But Sri Ramakrishna was just opposite. He said, I can't take the responsibility. If my mind is on the ornaments and the decoration, how can I worship? I will do puja if somebody else takes because I can't ask you to remove. That would be a big shock for most of the householder devotees of Sri Ramakrishna. They have spent so much money decorating the Ma Kali there, Bhavatarani, so much of jewelry in Radhakanta temple. Because that is how ritualistic worship has become more and more material. In Tirupati, if you see, so much of gold and other things are there. But Sri Ramakrishna came to show the essence. He said, this is not what I am ready to do. I can't put my mind on gold and see that nobody steals it and then do my puja. That will be a distraction for me. So that shows how one pointed he was. If he is doing puja, he will do only puja, not have the best of both worlds, have decoration, have rituals, have all sorts of worldly glory. That is why he refused in the beginning. He refused to do puja. Said that will distract me. And moreover, another thing was distracting him was his mother's, because the way he was doing puja, the way he was performing all the rituals in Dakshineshwar, so many rumors that he is mad, he is not doing it properly, he doesn't even do according to the pujari tradition, because we always believe in tradition. This should be done like this, that. His Anganyasa, Karanyasa, will come to that, because puja involves lot of rituals. And the more detailed the puja, the more people appreciate it without knowing the meaning. That is exactly what Sardan is pointing out. He did everything. He did not come to disturb any ritual. Every ritual which is prescribed in the scriptures, he did. But he did it not for show, but because he really meant his intention of doing all the nyasas, all the pujas, all the mantras, the different mantras that you utter when you do, that is shown here. When he did that, he could understand, not only understand the meaning, he could realize the purpose with which such pujas are done. Priests are more, the priests who normally do puja, they do it so that people can appreciate the wonderful way they do. Sri Ramakrishna did not bother. That's why they called him. Sometimes they thought he is mad. They went and complained to Mathur Babu. We saw how many times they went and said he is not doing. He was in a different mood. When he saw Mother Kali talking to him, he would behave as if it's a living deity. It was not just a ritual that he was doing. And naturally, people misunderstood him, and that news reached his mother that he may be dismissed anytime. He is not following, and people are after him. Most of the selfish priests who were basically there just for money, including Hriday. Hriday used to run after people who had a lot of money, which Sri Ramakrishna, and he was upset if Sri Ramakrishna scolded some rich devotee. You know that Marwadi who offered 10,000 rupees for his maintenance. He loved Sri Ramakrishna. So he said, how will you earn a living when you are old? You will need some support. So you please take 10,000 rupees was a huge amount, mind you, in those days. So this Lakshmi Narayan Marwadi, and he goes with a stick. He said, you have come to distract me from my goal. And then Hriday gets upset. He said, my mama has gone mad. Naturally, it is madness for him, because he said, he is giving you money. So they were there for different purposes. And That is why Sri Ramakrishna would, in the initial stages we saw, he said, if you take care, he told Hriday, since you are more interested in jewels, you take care of the jewels, then that is responsibility is yours. And then when his mother was worried, he in fact goes and prays to the Divine Mother, that is Bhavatarani, that my mother, see, the thing is, I have so much, he had great respect for his mother, who was very innocent. She used to believe anything and everything that people from Kamarpukur who visited Dakshina, your son has gone mad, he's doing this, doing that. And that hurt her, that made her worried. After all, his Gadai was her son. So she used to send messages and she used to express, and they used to come and add some things and tell him, see, your mother is like this. So he was full of worry that this anxiety is not allowing me to do puja properly or to worship, do my sadhana properly. So he goes and prays intensely to the Divine Mother, saying that you please allow my mother, give her some peace of mind. She is unnecessarily anxious for me. So immediately that prayer was answered. And then we saw the day he goes back to Kamarpukur. So he used to go now and then just visit Kamarpukur. He saw she was totally changed and the prayer was answered. And she treated him as if nothing has happened. So he was very grateful to the Divine Mother that she removed all the unnecessary anxiety which was man made, created by human beings, and at least he could peacefully worship the Divine Mother to his heart's content. So, how he worshipped, the difference between an ordinary pujari and the divine pujari that Sri Ramakrishna was, and the human pujari, which who does all these things as a ritual, is explained here. Rida used to say, now I'm reading from the great master, Rida used to say that while master sang, he used to sing sometimes. He was not very particular about doing all the rituals. Sometimes if he was in a good mood, he would sing. And that put off a lot of pujaris, or they gave it gave a chance, and they used to go and complain to Mathur Babu. See, he's supposed to do his puja, is going on singing. But when he sang, tears would profusely pour from his eyes and flow down his chest. These were observed by Hriday. Hriday knew something, his worship is special. Later on, even Rani Rasmani and Mathur Babu knew that. That's why after seeing this, they warned everyone that nobody should obstruct him. Whatever he wants, uh, uh, Sri Ramakrishna wants, he will worship the Divine Mother, because they knew they had so many visions and experiences by his grace that Mathur Babu was forced to admit that whatever rules he may break while doing puja, he definitely nobody can doubt his intensity with which he worshipped. As he performed worship, the master would become so absorbed that if anyone came near or talked to him, he could not hear them at all. That was told to him by Hriday. Sometimes people misunderstood. How can you be so absorbed? We know one incident when Swamiji was reading a simple book like Pickwick Papers, and somebody came, some rich person came to this room. He was ushered in, and he goes inside, and he feels that Swamiji is neglecting him. In fact, he was reading the book. He did not notice that person had come. He thought it is insult, because we don't read a book so intensely, especially a book like Pickwick Papers by Charles Dickens. So he was so absorbed, even in a simple reading, he was so absorbed that he could not hear, he could not see that somebody has come. And then when he realized, he was also surprised. He thought it is not possible for a human being to be so absorbed when he is reading. But here, he says, even if somebody came near and talked, he was so engrossed, one pointed in his attention towards the puja or whatever song or ritual he was doing, that he could not hear them at all. The master mentioned, he himself mentioned, so this is a very authentic thing, that while performing rituals such as Anga Nyasa and Kara if you have seen, we see it is a ritual, people do it loudly so that can draw the attention. And in fact, it is supposed to be done very silently. The Sanganyasa and all, or sometimes even if you utter it, it's the spirit behind that. Nyasa means to sanctify the different parts of the body before you install the deity in your heart. Because we have to make the temple ready. If you want to invite a king, you have to clean the whole place. You have to see that the circumstances or the situation and the surroundings are clean enough for such an important person, a divine person, to sit inside. So many purification. The first, so many rituals and mantras deal with purification. Two of them are Anganyasa, that is purifying the whole body, which has been defiled because of misuse. So we, every time we sit for puja, the pujari is supposed to, when you do formal worship, do Anganyasa, Karanyasa, because the hands have been polluted by doing so many uh, worldly things. So when you sit for puja, first you have to purify, and that takes a lot of time. And people do it because that's part of the puja. The longer you do it, the more intensely you do, the better it is, because if you do it with that spirit, the pujari has to do this Anganyasa, Karanyasa. But for Sri Ramakrishna, when he did that, these are his own words. He actually saw the words of those mantras. There are different bija mantras you have to utter. They are very yam, ram, lam, kam, so many mantras are uttered. And literally with every utterance of the mantra, whether he did it loudly or in his mind, he used to see these mantras written on the different parts of his body. For example, there is a particular bija which is to be uttered when you touch the middle fingers, this finger. That is known as Karanyasa. Kara means hand. So we invoke these different sounds. This is part of the worship as it is done in the by the Shaktas. It is known as Tantras. So there, the idea is everything that is gross has to be purified before you can even start invite the God to sit inside, because our body is so unclean, it has to be cleaned. So Nyasa means invoking that divine spirit. So he used to see the mantras literally written on his body in bright colors. You see, if you read the different texts, every bija has a particular color. Every lotus has a particular color. People may ask, why do you meditate on the 8-petal lotus in the heart? What has color got to do? These are not arbitrary colors. Somebody decides, some artist decides, oh, this should be blue, this. No. These were things that these great prophets or the sadhakas realized when they uttered these mantras. So this is the proof that he said when he uttered the mantra, he could see those characters on different parts of his body in color, in bright colors, very, very distinctive colors. That is why they say, some people who do, to Swami Turiyananji in fact says, that if you become so much an adept in mantra, repetition of the mantra, that is japa, you might at a certain stage see the mantras appearing to you spontaneously in a very bright colors. They may just come, or you may hear the sound. So either it is sound or you see the mantra itself. But in Sri Ramakrishna's case, every time he uttered the mantra, he could see the mantras written on his body. The moment he touched the head, touched the different parts of the body, which you are supposed to do in Karanyasa and also Anganyasa. So he actually saw the words of the mantras written on his body. In addition, he watched as the Kundalini power in his own body rise like a snake through the Sushumna channel to the Sahasrara. This is explained in great detail in the third part, that we have not come to that. It is the third part, Guru Bhav Purvartha. There, this Kundalini and other things, in a very, very scientific way it has been explained. So, those parts, now he says something significant, very briefly, that will give you an idea. Those parts of his body that were left behind by that power, when the power rises, what happens is, when it goes from one center to a higher center, the lower center becomes numb. They become like jada, inert. When Sri Ramakrishna reached Samadhi, the whole body became inert. It was like a stone. Practically no breathing, no prana there. So literally, he could see that, and those parts of his body that were, see, suppose he was meditating at the heart center. So anything below the heart would become numb. It was just like a stone. It would be fixed. And the parts of the body that were left behind when the Kundalini rises, it immediately became motionless, insensible, and nearly dead. If you see in the gospel, at least in two places, Dr. Sarkar, because he would not believe, he was an atheist till the end. Even he said, I cannot explain what is happening, but I can definitely test. So he comes with his medical equipment, that is stethoscope and all, tries to feel the heartbeat. Especially when he went into Samadhi, he saw there is no breathing sign. All the signs of a dead person were there. So he could not deny what he saw with his own eyes. He even tried to poke his finger in his eyelids to see if it responds. So he was shocked. He said, how can it be possible? Medically, it is not possible. But he says it immediately became motionless, insensible, nothing, he could not feel anything. In fact, he said when he locked his legs in a particular asana and sat, he says the Divine Mother would lock everything. Lock means practically it became like a stiff part of the body and nothing would shake it. We feel sensations, we feel so much pain, and everything seems to be normal. In fact, it is a struggle for us to even sit. But for him, it was, he says, he could really feel, I mean, all the parts of the body, because if the Kundalini rises up to the throat, the sensation can be felt only on the other two chakras. The consciousness below simply rises. It goes to the Sahasrara, as he said. Then that is one aspect, but this is not explained in great detail how it happens. But if you go to the third part, third volume, which we'll discuss later, in so many paragraphs, it has been described in great detail. Let us not go into that now. The next thing that happened was there is a mantra where you say Rang and then you throw water all around you. The significance of that is it's like a firewall. In a computer also we use that firewall. It is literally a firewall, a wall of fire. When people get stuck in the jungle, in forest, earlier the system was they used to collect wood, burn a fire so that will distract the animals from coming and harming them if they had to spend the whole night. So that firewall is, the purpose of doing that is so many thoughts, subtle vibrations, disturbances, evil vibrations of other people, they will come and bombard you and distract your mind. So literally, it's not a physical firewall, it is a mental firewall that you create with the mantra Rang. Rang is the mantra they do. They take water in the hand. If you have seen the pujari, he'll do sprinkle water all around himself. For most of us, it is symbolic. We just do it because that is written in the books. So it is just a ritual. Somehow you do it and finish it. Whereas he actually saw an impenetrable wall of fire with hundreds of flame on all sides, protecting the place, protecting him and the place of worship. So it was literally, he could see visions on a daily basis. That is what he says. He took it so seriously because when somebody explained to him, this is the mantra which will, this is the Bij mantra which will do this is the Bij mantra. It was 100% faith and 100% intensity. He did all these things. Hriday said, now most of the things he explained to Hriday. And Hriday later on, because Thakur was not there, so Shardananji had to rely on Hriday's information. He said, Hriday said that when the other temple Brahmins, who were mere pujaris, saw the master's luminous body and the absorbed mood, they would say to one another, though they were jealous of him, but they could not deny his divinity. He says they would say to one another in surprise, "See, it is Narayana himself has assumed a human body and is doing puja." They were so attracted when he did that kind of puja. So, so this is how, this is one paragraph he gives. This will be explained in great detail in the third part of his biography, where which the third and fourth parts are known as Guru Bhav Purvardha and Guru Bhav Uttarardha. That means Sri Ramakrishna, after his sadhana, which took almost half his life, the first half he gathered all the spiritual treasures, performed sadhana, doing starting with puja. He did all the sadhana of all the different disciplines within Hinduism, outside of Hinduism, and also Advait sadhana. And finally, he distributed what he had gathered by his sadhana in the second half of his. Literally, you can say 25 years he did this sadhana, and 25 years he distributed. So the next 25 years, they are known as Guru Bhav, Purvardha and Uttarardha. Purvardha is the description of the time before the famous disciples came. The householders had come, Mathur Babu was there and others were there, but the monastic disciples are covered mostly in the Guru Bhav Uttarardha and the Divya Bhav, that is the last one, where he gave full responsibility to his monastic disciples to carry on the spiritual tradition that he started. But before that, many householder disciples, they used to come. So that is known as Guru Bhav Purvardha. So he did not start directly with Narayan and others. They came almost at the end. Most of them, if you see, came after 80. That is why Narayan says, "I fought with my master for 6 years." What he means was, in 6 years, there was an intense, you may say, conversation between Narayan and Sri Ramakrishna, because he came with a very rational and scientific mind. So everything that he observed had to be proved. It had to be a realization. He would not be convinced, because he had met people who could not answer his simple question, "Have you seen or experienced God?" Devendranath Tagore, they were the great founders of Brahmo Samaj. None of them could assure him that they have had these realizations. It was only Sri Ramakrishna, but even Sri Ramakrishna did not accept. His skeptical mind, which is typical of which is good in a way. Sri Ramakrishna appreciated that, because one should have a scientific temper. And unless one experiences, how can one believe? Now when he does Anganyasa, Karanyasa, if he does like us, he would be very happy, just finish the puja and go away. But when he saw that all these things, his visions, he's experiencing, he got convinced. All his experiences he tested. He himself tested. Forget Naren and others. Even before they came, many times he used to tell the Divine Mother that many people are making fun of me, that my experiences are not true. So do this, do that, show me that it is true. So many of the things were not only verified by him, it was shown, it was verified in front of others who observed it. Like one of them was Dr. Mahendralal Sarkar, who could not believe when he said he can go into samadhi and he will stop breathing. He said, ridiculous. How can medically I can't? If a person exhibits those kind of characteristics, we have to declare him to be dead. And if at all he is dead, how can he come back? So he was curious, and then he said, but still he would not accept. His faith in science was so much that he said, I don't know, it is a rare phenomena. Maybe he thought that it should be valid for others also. Which Sri Ramakrishna assured Narendra, if it is true for me, it has to be true for all. In the true scientific spirit, if it is true for one scientist, and if he says it is true only for me, then it is not science. It has to be true for everyone. So all these things which he saw, he invited Naren and all the other disciples, you do it, follow the instructions, have the intensity that I had, and see whether you get these realizations or not. In fact, he was more gracious. He could even just touch and give that experience to Naren, even without his doing any sadhana. That is a different thing. But it was definitely, he did not ask Naren to accept what he experienced without giving that same experience to others. So that is why he says, uh, this period of his life, he did all the experiments and all the results, he gave it to the world in the second part of his life. But we will come to that later. How Ramkumar trained the master, because his brother was really a good pujari. It's not that he was a ordinary person. He was selected because of his knowledge. Even they say his father Kshudiram Chattopadhyay, he was also a very meticulous. He would not do puja in anyone and everyone's house. He would be very particular about what he did, even at a great loss. He lost a lot of income because uh, other pujaris will simply do shraddha, this, that. But he was very particular. He would rather starve rather than tell untruth. He was to the last word, he would follow the scriptures. Whatever is necessary, he would do. So Ramkumar had that training, and of course, Sri Ramakrishna did not need that, but he accepted because of his respect. His method of worship was unconventional, as I said. Obviously, Ramkumar would not see all the characters in bright colors when he did. He did very methodically all the puja and other things, but he expected Sri Ramakrishna also to follow because they were. He was worried about the criticism because the pujaris were just waiting to see what mistakes Sri Ramakrishna did and then go and complain. In the initial stages, Mathur Babu also felt this is too much. He's breaking all the rules, singing the song suddenly in the midst of puja. So, all these things in the beginning, but then when they saw and some of the wonderful experiences which he himself had and which he could give to Mathur Babu and others, you will find that that convinced them and they did not disturb him. So here he says, although after coming to Dakshineshwar, the Ramkumar thought that he will be free to some extent because their anxiety is what will happen, how will he earn a living. They think Sri Ramakrishna was born like them to just maintain a family, earn some money. Of course, they forced him to marry and they thought now he has to maintain that family. It is our responsibility. Not knowing has come with a different purpose. And how will the maintenance of the family, especially the old mother and others, they were not very rich. Even Ramkumar was not very rich. So he observed his younger brother's fondness for solitude and indifference towards worldly affairs. His brother's actions revealed a lack of interest in household's financial well-being. So that is very clear that right from beginning, Sri Ramakrishna's mind would not go. In fact, he could not add. He could not add if somebody asked him to do some kind of calculation. He could not do anything. So his brother was worried. He doesn't even know how he will earn his living, how he will save money, what is required for running a household. So all these financial matters, he was worried that though I am trying to teach him, he is not bothered. In the mornings and evenings, he saw that his brother was walking alone on the bank of the Ganges, away from the temple, sitting motionless under the Panchavati, or entering the jungle around Panchavati and not emerging for a long time. At first, Ramkumar thought that perhaps Gadadhar was anxious. See, the worldly mind works in different ways. If somebody is genuinely spiritual, we think he has some worldly problems. If he doesn't behave like we do, then we think he is abnormal. That is the problem. We are so quick to judge other people. And that creates a lot of problems for others, for ourselves. We want to judge everyone. Oh, this is not, because I don't agree. It does not agree with my code of conduct. If I like to earn money, you also should earn money. I should see. I am so careful about my investment, savings, and other things. So they'll force the children, their brother, or whomsoever they think that you are not perfect. You have to do exactly as I do. Parents normally expect the children to just follow what they are doing. So here also, Ramkumar's worry was he is trying to think what is the fault? Man, why is he behaving in this way? Perhaps, see, the silly idea he got was it came to his mind that I forced him to come from Kamarpukur, where he was so happy he was with his mother. Oh, that poor boy, I brought him, forced him to come to Dakshineshwar, and he's feeling lonely. That is why he's going here, going, not knowing that his total idea behind solitude was his spiritual progress. He was after a particular goal in life. It was not like that he was depressed or something, but we assume, we try to judge other people from our own mental state. So that is why Holy Mother used to very often say, if there is no evil in your mind, you can't see evil in other people. If you see evil in other people, that means that evil is already there in the mind. So here is seeing that many times he used to go and ask, oh, are you sad because you are missing your parents, and do you want to go? If you are not happy, please go. That is how we normally treat other people. Then time and again he used to assure. Sri Ramakrishna used to get irritated. Why is he always asking me? Let me be on my own. So he always assured that he had no such desire to go back to Kamarpukur. If you see, most of these great incarnations, the one quality that they are totally detached. Krishna, everybody thought he was so attached to the gopis. He was definitely, they were attracted to him because of his divine quality. And that 13-year-old boy, when he leaves Vrindavan, not once did he come back. People don't see that kind of detachment. So it's impossible that Sri Ramakrishna would be crying because he just left Kamarpukur. If he was missing Kamarpukur, then he would be like us. We miss people, we miss our surroundings, we miss our associations, we miss our companionship. But they don't miss anything because they are attracted and attached to God, which is very important. For them, if they miss God, they will be unhappy. But Ramkumar would not understand that. So he said, shall I send you home? Are you feeling homesick? Asking Sri Ramakrishna, he had no home. Such people don't even have a home. They are happy without a home. They will just, their only home is God. So, anyway, he says, then he thought, I am growing older. Now, Ramkumar is thinking how, see psychologically how Sardhananji is analyzing how different relatives of Sri Ramakrishna, including his mother, had an opinion about him and how they changed slowly. It's not that Ramkumar did not know that his brother was definitely, even if he did not know that he was a great spiritual personality, at least he knew that he was definitely, when Mathur Babu, Rani Rasmani, everybody praises him and he has some visions, definitely he knew that he is not an ordinary person, but still that human touch was there. So he says, uh, I don't know, because he was quite old compared to Sri Ramakrishna. So he was worried, if I die, then how can he live? He has a wife who is not even has come here. She's still in Jairambati. Who will look after her? Who will look after the family? That's a natural worry relatives have for their own people. He says, if I am gone, will he be able to make a living and maintain the family on his own? So Ramkumar was very pleased when Mathur Babu, he must have expressed, said, I am not worried about myself, but what will happen to my brother? I have brought him here. Yeah, he's always going here, going there. And then, so Mathur tried to solve the problem when he appointed Gadadhar to the temple service. He said, okay. And in fact, you will be surprised to know that he said, I'm not going to sign. When you accept salary, the treasurer would ask you to sign. Gadadhar refused. And Mathur Babu said, don't force him to sign. So the money was deposited, and that 7 rupees which he got, people don't know that. Though he never touched money, didn't accept money, it was deposited, and Sri Ramakrishna knew that this was deposited, though he had no attachment for himself. But when he was about to pass away, he asked the Khajanchi how much money was there, because he was worried that Holy Mother will have to suffer. So how much money? Then he asked Holy Mother. We think he is very impractical, but he was very practical, not for his own sake, for his Sharda Devi's sake, because he knew that nobody would help her after his passing away. So he said, how many rotis do you eat? She was so calculative in that sense, in a good sense. When she said so much, he calculated in his own mind. If he wanted, he could calculate, but he did not want to. But anyway, he said, okay, then whatever money has been accumulated, that would be enough for you, at least to feed yourself. He was not greedy, but at the same time, he wanted to make sure that Holy Mother would not suffer. So, similarly, here, Mathur Babu, but unfortunately, that amount was also because of the selfishness of the relatives, Ramlal Dada, his nephew, it was denied. That is the sad part, how human beings, apparently human beings who belong to the family of Sri Ramakrishna himself, going and telling the management that Holy Mother has so many rich disciples, she doesn't need money. So they stopped the 7 rupees that they were giving her for maintaining a house in Kamarpukur. She had to struggle, sometimes nothing to eat. And so many guests coming without even thinking whether they are able to she's able to run the house. And on the other side, the selfish relative, or whatever reason. I'm not saying they're selfish. Maybe there was some misunderstanding. People think that, oh, she's surrounded by so many rich people, they must be giving money. She never accepted. And this Ramlal Dada stopped the 7 rupees. It's a very unfortunate. It came to be known much later, and Master Mashai and all, they were so angry. Said, why did you stop her money that was left by Sri Ramakrishna? So that is how the trials and tribulations he faced. But naturally, Ram Kumar would think in a very worldly way, out of love for his brother, that how will he do? And when he became the dresser, he just had to dress Mother Kali. Mathur Babu said, okay, you don't have to look after the jewelry. You don't even have to do puja. You just decorate Mother. And that he liked, because he was full of devotion. It's to spend hours thinking of the Mother. He said, without any worry, I can do. And then even Ram Kumar thought that at least he should know some mantras. So he taught him Chandi, and he taught him all the mantras, which he used to do, of course. Anything that he was taught, he would learn very quickly. So then he knew that in future, in according to the Shakta tradition, Shakti Puja, anybody who has not been initiated into Shakti mantra, they could not do the puja of the female deity, or that is the Devi. So that is why he himself agreed to take initiation, and the person who initiated him was Kenaram Bhattacharya, who was. So you see, he accepted all the gurus. He did not come to disturb any tradition. Only thing he did was he understood the true spirit of the tradition. He did not follow it just as a tradition, but he understood the true spirit in whatever he did. If he refused to do puja, there was a reason. But if he agreed to do something, he would do it 100% perfectly. So Kenaram Bhattacharya, it is said that he got the Shakti mantra, and he lived in Baitak Khana Bazaar in Calcutta. He used to come and meet Mathur and Rani Rasmani very often. He was a famous Shakti sadhaka, and they had a high regard for him, not because of his because he was famous, but because he was a deeply devotional sadhaka, Shakta sadhaka or tantric sadhaka. He had also been well known to Ram Kumar for some time, so Master decided to take initiation from him. We have heard that as soon as the Master was initiated, he went into ecstasy, and that Kenaram was amazed by his extraordinary devotion to the Divine Mother. He blessed the Master, the Guru blessed the Master that he might realize his chosen deity. Now, after that comes the sad incident of Ram Kumar's death, because that is the period when Sri Krishna was forced to accept. Till now, he was just helping the pujari to dress the Divine Mother, but because of his Ram Kumar's death, which we'll discuss in the next, it was 1856 when he died. So Ram Kumaran had lived at Dakshineshwar, and probably, because they don't know the exact date, the middle of 1856, he died. And then a totally different phase of his life, Radhakanta, he first became the pujari of Radhakanta temple and so many other things. So he suddenly died. And because of that death, there was a great change in Sri Ramakrishna. But of course, the other people thought he was sad because his brother died. But there were other reasons why the Divine Mother brought this kind of sadness in his life, so that his longing for the divine vision. So that is also an indication that very often it is not happiness that uh, increases the intensity for spiritual practice. Very often it is pain or some kind of sadness that comes. So it is dukkha. That is why Buddha says the whole spiritual life begins with the understanding you don't have to suffer dukkha. You can see dukkha in others. Swami Premeshanji, Swami Premeshanji used to say, when somebody was laughing at some person, he was suffering because of some mistakes he made in his life. And naturally, we say that, oh, why did you do like that? We try to sympathize, or at least criticize, or at least sympathize, and think that, see how he made a mistake. But Premeshanji scolded that brahmachari. He said, you should never criticize that person. Why don't you take it in a positive way? That because he made a mistake, God has helped you to avoid making the same mistake. So he has sacrificed himself so that you can learn something from others' mistakes. So like Buddha, he did not have to wait till he was old, till he was sick to understand the pain of dukkha. By seeing dukkha in others, he could understand, and he started finding a solution for it. That is why in Buddhism, the whole philosophy, it's not that one should realize God or anything. He says there is dukkha, it's a universal phenomena, and Buddha was wise enough, after seeing dukkha in three people, just one trip outside the palace. Till then, he was not exposed to any kind of dukkha. But the moment he saw dukkha in others, he saw an old man, he saw a sick man, and he saw a dead man. These three things were enough to tell him that you don't have to wait till you become sick, till you become old, until you suffer dukkha, then you call upon God. That is not all. That does not always happen. So the idea yesterday, somebody was asking this question, that if dukkha reminds us of God, then why can't sukha, when we have sukha or happiness, why don't we pray to God? No, it's not true. Those who are happy also do pray to God, though it is rare, because happiness doesn't, the urgency is not there. When there is dukkha, that is why Kunti said, please told Krishna that always give sadness or sorrow, keep the sorrow constant in my life so that I can remember you. But that is an extreme prayer. That is not the case. One can by seeing others dukkha, they can, even when they are themselves happy, they will not take the happiness for granted, and then they will pray. So that is what we'll see here. Ram Kumar died, and everybody thought that it is because of his death that Sri Ramakrishna's devotion, the main vision of the Divine Mother, where He becomes so restless. Everybody thought from a worldly point of view that, see, he lost his only elder brother who was like a father to him. That is why that shock is so much that he is. They didn't realize that his sadness or his torture is because he cannot see the Divine Mother. He wanted to realize quickly. He even went to the extent of cutting his throat. But how can the world understand? That is what is being discussed. How his longing was misunderstood as sadness. People think that because we become sad when somebody dies, so he has lost his brother, that is why he's sad. And naturally, that is the attitude for most of the people. They think, oh, but they don't realize that he wants to go to solitude, he wants to keep to himself, he wants to because he has that desire. He doesn't want to wait till he gets uh, till he dukkha comes to his life to realize the Divine Mother. He is prepared, he is anticipating that since everything is going to end with death, with suffering, then why not make preparations in advance? So that is how he was motivated. But here, uh, this mishap, which his brother suddenly died, was a turning point. And Swami Shardanji is such a wonderful psychologist. He is trying to analyze how different people interpreted the changes in behavior of Sir Gadai, the young Gadai. Everybody gave one reason. Depending on his own mental view of life, he will say, oh, he's crying, he's going to solitude because his brother has died, he's feeling helpless, he's feeling that he's lost, and all those things. So we'll find that the changes in masters, that is Thakur's behavior, has been discussed. We'll discuss it in the next class. The next class will be, of course, after May, because there's no class next Sunday. There's no class, and after that, only after 20th May, we will resume this. So, as I said, you have to alternately keep track of what is going on. You see, I'm taking these two classes because only gospel is not going to help. You have to understand the gospel in the light of the great master or the divine play of Sri Ramakrishna, because many of his teachings are lived by him, and only Swami Shardanji could point out that he doesn't just say some things to Master Masha and other devotees there. When he says, it is from his own experience. And how to know that he has experienced all these things? You have to go to the great master. So the great master and gospel, they are both have to be read together, maybe slowly. It's not possible to read the whole, all 5 volumes. But the pains Shardananji has taken to explain each and every incident as if a psychologist would see, he could realize. In fact, he was asked, how could you write such a wonderful biography? Could you read the mind of Thakur? He says, whatever I have not experienced in my mind, I have not written. That means before he wrote anything, he used to pray to Thakur that he got the experiences, how it felt like. That means that includes samadhi, that includes everything. But he was not bragging about it, but he said, there is not a single incident or experience which I have described, which I have not experienced myself. So that shows how gracious Thakur was. Thakur made him, selected him, like he selected Master Masha, to write gospel and the great master. So, any questions? I think we are running short. Any questions?
All right. This Mohandas Sarkar, Mohandas Sarkar, he was Nastic. After Thakur's death, after seeing Thakur, did he change?
No, he did not. In fact, he started an association, but nothing wrong in that. An association for cultivation of sciences. See, he was having a lot of faith in science and he was truthful. So, if one is scientific, there's nothing wrong because science also holds on to truth. He didn't say that Thakur Samadhi is wrong. He tested it. Only thing is, what is wrong if he tests? Others will simply believe. He said, no, I'm going to see what happens. And that is the scientific spirit. Nothing wrong. Science will never go against spirituality. So he continued, but he appreciated Sri Ramakrishna not because of his philosophy, or he may not even have accepted uh, the saintly, I mean, not saintly, the spiritual experiences and all other things. He might have thought the visions are just imagination, but at the same time, he knew that his life was good. He was a very loving person. He was very kind. He says, I come only because of that. You are so loving, you are so kind, so simple, no ego, just like a child. So, out of love, he came, and out because he had to treat. So, there's nothing wrong. I mean, at least he was honest. Nothing, no, there was not much change. In fact, his son Amritlal Sarkar, they started a very big organization. In fact, after Thakur's death, he became more involved in the cultivation of scientific spirit in India. The Jadavpur Indian Association for Cultivation, that gave India the first Nobel Prize in C.V. Raman worked there. He encouraged the scientific spirit. So there's no evidence to show that he promoted the gospel or anything. After Thakur passed away, as usually, he went back to his field of science. But he definitely had great respect for Thakur.
Maximula wrote a letter to his wife that I want to go to the root of the Hinduism so that I can root it out. There will be
that may be the intent. Yeah, he was employed for that. Yes.
But then he
changed. He changed. The same thing with Mahendralal Sarkar. He was employed by the allopathic doctors to root out homeopathy from Calcutta. He became a homeopathic doctor. Before he became a homeopathic doctor, he was employed by the allopathic doctor, said he is a dangerous philosophy of homeopathy is coming. So you are a very accomplished doctor. You study homeopathy so that you can criticize and show it is a stupid science. But he became so, when he was studying homeopathy, he became so impressed that he himself converted. So that happens. That happens. Yeah. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna